Namaskar and welcome to My Startup TV. I'm your host, Majorsunilshetty. Adventure is part of 4G's mindset and lifestyle. When it comes to 4G stepping out of uniform and blending their passion with adventure, a truly unique business adventure is born. And that's what happened with our guest today, Colonel Romel Batwal, who's founder of Brutes and Crampons. Welcome, Colonel Romel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, sir. Jahan and Jahan to all the viewers as well, sir.
Jai Hind to
To
you
and
and
to our viewers. Colonel Romel, you have led multiple expeditions. Your team has led multiple expeditions. You yourself are a climber who's done multiple peaks, I think more than 25 plus that you recall. Many of the small eliminations you don't even recall them. I remember that from our conversation when you said I don't remember how many, but 25 major ones, which includes to the Himalayas. What if you can walk us through how your love for adventure evolved into founding of Boots and Crampons.
Oh, a great one, sir. So, being in Forge, adventure is part of our life. And my life in Forge was mostly revolving around adventure sports, endurance sports, and all. So, that was part and parcel of my journey in the army. I was into long distance running, triathlons, duathlons, these kind of things. So once the time came, I got an opportunity in 2018 wherein the army was sending a team to Mount Everest. And then I decided, okay, let's give it a try. And as luck would have it, 2019, exactly after 1 year of deciding that I'm going to lead the team to the top, our team was there on the Everest, 22nd of May 2019. So that was the turning point. I realized that, by that time, I had gone enough of service, and I realized in the army I'll not be very actively involved in the groundwork, be it climbing expeditions or any other adventure sports. So then I met another friend of mine, Bharat, and then we decided that let's give it a push, and our ideas matched, and now we both run this company, and I'm a partner in Boots and Crampons, and that's how the journey has been since the time I left the army in 2020.
I
I
follow you actively on LinkedIn, and every time I see you scaling, those peaks, it definitely inspires. But also somewhere to be, what do you call, honest. थोड़ा सा जलन होता है यार काश मैं भी कर पाता. So what inspired you to transform your mountaineering passion into a structured expedition business?
Right. So initially it was less of business and more of passion, because after leaving Forge, you want to do something worthwhile for yourself because you have lived a life like that in the army. So that was the aim that, you make your life count and then contribute as well. So we realized there was a lot of gap between what people wanted to do and what was available especially in the mountaineering field. There was no major companies which were doing climbs like Everest or big climbs around the world. So that's when we decided that, we'll start and cover the gap. And in the bargain, we get to climb as well. Because once a 4G you get the taste of adventure, then it's very difficult to get it out. So the mindset itself is very, very different. So that was the whole purpose.
so
Boots and Crampons offers treks for everyone. That's what that's what your website also says, for first timers to Everest expeditions. So how do you tailor these experiences across different levels? And I'm asking you this from very personal thing also. I've been wanting to do this, right? As an infantry officer, I've climbed at least not big mountains, but northeast काफी घुटने फौज में कहते हैं काफी घुटने रगड़े हैं, right? So somebody who has somebody in his early 50s and wants to do a expedition like these, or at least start being that the adventure part of it, because at 50 you invariably end up having blood pressure and few other things, maybe a physical injury. So for all these, how do you for first timers to people with somebody late bloomers who want to start probably in their 50s with certain ailments which are going to be there with them, how do you tailor for all these people?
So how it works is, sir, we work our company in a 4G type of a manner. So we have strict protocols and SOPs, which means if somebody who has not been to the mountains for quite some time, or there's been a long gap, so what we ask them is to start with beginner kind of a trek. So they start with a trek which would typically comprise of 3 to 4 days of climbing, and before that also we prepare them. We ask them to go for day hikes, and then once they start enjoying those day hikes and those become comfortable, then you start with beginner level of treks which are not very high in altitude, something like a typical 3,000, 3,500 meters. Once you go over there, then you realize whether it's a one-off thing of Instagram based kind of a love, or is it actually you want to and get into trouble, staying in the tent, sleeping bags, because it's a different life than what we see. And once they realize that it's something which they really connect with, then they graduate to intermediate or expert kind of climbs.
I like that phrase, Instagram kind of, for Instagram, the trekking. So, which is very true, like some people probably want to do for that, social media, presence. But then there are people who are passionate about it or have been wanting to do it, and for them, boots and crampons, one is, as you said, give them the initial exposure and then take them to the next level. Do you also hold any camps for fitness? Because that's the first thing, right? Somebody who's never done trekking, somebody who's never climbed a mountain, immediately starts on a trekking. They, each part of the muscle, actually hurts. So, do you do any kind of fitness? Do you give them any advice, or do they have to go through a structured program?
It's a very interesting question, sir, because we also felt that once they joined us for the climbs, we realized they have the time, they have the effort, they want to do the work for preparing for the climb, but then they don't know how to prepare it well. So on these lines, we started a company called AltiEdge. So AltiEdge is for training people for higher altitudes, be it treks or expeditions. And target, let's say next 6 months, you want to climb an intermediate kind of a climb. Then we prepare a structured plan and give it to them, and then we follow it up on a regular basis so that they, by the time they come for the climb, they are fully prepared and they know what they have signed up for. So that way, that AltiEdge takes care of that aspect of training.
So this training, does it happen at one location, or do you have franchisees or other Fojis who are probably partnering with you and helping them? Because I'm sure the climbers come from different parts of the country, right? Or even from international. So how do you kind of help them do that? Because one is to come to your location and undergo training, which adds to the, adds to their time that they have to dedicate to it, and also obviously money part. The other being, if they can do it, somewhere, like I'm based off Hyderabad. So is there a way I could do it in Hyderabad before I come to you guys for actual expedition?
That's what we do is, sir, we have online training as part of the AltiEdge. We give them a training program, and then we check their Garmin data or smartwatch data. And based on the feedback we receive from the data, we keep tweaking the plans. One aspect is that. Second is we have workshops being held on weekends in places like Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in Bombay, in Delhi, NCR. And these people who are keen on joining for the climbs, they join for these workshops on weekends, sometimes overnight, and then they prepare accordingly. And apart from that, we also organize mountain workshops wherein between 4 to 6 months of intervals, we organize training session for 3 to 4 days on hands-on training on icecraft, snowcraft, so that by the time these people are signing up for climbs in Himalayas or in some other country, so they are well prepared and they know how to handle all those challenges.
No, that's really nice, because you need to be ready for it, because it is one thing to do a simple trek. It's another thing to climb a mountain. As an infantry officer, I've done those, and we understand how difficult it is. So could you highlight any one, beginner's trek or one expert level expedition that you are particularly proud of? I'm sure you're proud of every expedition that you have done, but hota na kabhi kabhi ki, one expert or one, beginner who did the thing and you said, wow, that was great.
So a beginner level trek, which we are very proud of, and most of our climbers who climb big mountains have to pass through that route. So because there's a lot of value delivery which happens as part of the training, how to wear a crampons, how to wear a harness, how to get rope up. Basics of all those mountaineering aspects are being taught in that climb, and that's called a peak called Mount Friendship Peak, which happens in Manali. It's an 8-day trek, very beautiful, and more than that, there's a lot of learning which happens, as I was telling, how to climb a mountain, what are the right ways, if the gradient is, let's say, 60 degrees, what are the kind of drills you're supposed to follow. If it is more than 60 degrees, you've got to do front pointing. So all those things are being taught there. And that's why we are very proud. And all the climbers who go for climbs like 7,000, 8,000 meters go through that, and get the basics correct.
Coming back to alt edge that you talked about, what exactly what is this exactly, and how does it evaluate your mentorship program?
Do is that first, anyone who's joining us for the climb, we give them a set of tests that these are the 25 tests you're supposed to give, and that sets up a benchmark from to where they are at present. And once we get that, then based on that and availability of time they have, then we make a plan of about 10 days to them, and we have a weekly call with the person that this week you should have done your training more in zone 2, or if you have trained a lot in zone 2, then it's time to go to zone 4 for a week of training. And similarly, we keep tweaking the plan based on what's the climb which is coming up, and all the data is being captured in the Garmin or any of the smart watches they have these days. Everyone is having a smartwatch, and that gives us a improvement factor. Like the resting heart rate till now was 65 or 70. Now slowly it is dropping to 55, which means progress is happening. Or if the sleep is not getting proper, then the person needs to focus more on rest and recovery. So all those tweaks happen, and then based on that, the improvement is visible in the people. Because recently we are coming from Russia, we were there for a month, and we had 5 climbers who were part of the OTH program, and then they could see the difference of training with us for past 5 to 6 months for this climb.
So when you do these international expeditions, do you also take care of their visa process and everything else?
We have connections with the visa agents these are the reliable guys who have been working with us for the past 7 to 8 years, and that's how we refer to them directly. So Boots and Crampons doesn't have a visa vertical as such, but then we have people who have been handling all our visa. Yes, sir. So that's how they do it.
Yeah, that's what is important, right? For somebody who's coming on adventure thing, wants everything to be these days. Everybody wants everything to be taken, including your home deliveries, the Zeptos of the world, right? So nobody has the patience or time to wait for or do things on their own. So for a beginner, for a 2 or 3 days trekking to big expeditions, what's kind of costing one should have in mind for people who wanting to do it, just for the sake of understanding the budgets that they need to set aside for something like this.
A typical 3 to 4 day of a trek, it costs about 12,000 rupees per person, and that takes care of your technical gears, takes care of your sleeping bag, mattress, tents, all that kind of stuff. Your personal gear individually is supposed to get, or those can be rented if you just want to test the waters and understand whether it's actually for you or not. And based on that, then the intermediate level costs about 40 to 50,000, and then the cost keeps going up based on the level of difficulty and other things.
And
wanted to take it as a, I mean, have you had instances where people came in just to test waters and then they actually got hooked onto it, and they are always there? And I just want to add to this, can somebody customize dates for you with the date saying I'm available from, let's say, 15th of September to 30th of September, kindly do it, can we do something within that timeline? Does that happen? Or you bring out a schedule and then people have to join around it?
Actually, we have a schedule, sir, but then we can always customize the plan. For example, last month only there was this army veteran. He called us up from Delhi itself, saying that he works in Bank of America. He's not able to schedule his leaves based on the schedule which we have. So he always does a customized trek, and we organized for him in Himachal, and then he did the climb. So we have that option of climbing in case the dates don't match you. But then we need a minimum set of people, or the cost goes up, because the logistics and all. Even for one person, you need to have a cook, you need to have helper, you need to have mules, all those things. So that's where the cost for a single person would obviously go up.
Right. So tell us about the BC Foundation that you have, that Boots and Crampons, and how does it support adventures in realizing their dreams?
So there was a situation once which came to us wherein there was this government agency, they had the CSR funds. So they wanted to spend those funds in sponsoring someone who is, worthy enough to climb and they don't have the financials. So that's how we realized that, a foundation like that, which could join, act as a mediator between the climber and the people who have the CSR funds to spend. So that's how we started this Boots and Crampons Foundation. And since then, we've been trying and reaching out to various corporates for getting funds for these people. And we are in the process of, encouraging more and more people to climb, even when they don't have the exact funds available for big climbs, because these mountain expeditions get pretty expensive as the altitude increases and the travel and other costs also goes up. So that's why a foundation like that, uh, suitably, if it matures, definitely it's going to go a long way.
So one thing that
Across the fitness industry, healthcare, one thing that has been noticed post corona is that there is a huge rush for people. You can see this even in your neighborhood. The number of people going out for a walk, people engaging in different activities to keep themselves fit. And this is something I personally believe. It was post corona that push or the catalyst effect has been there. Do you as as a company, did you also witness something like that?
There was this term which was like, revenge travel, which had come up immediately after COVID. So we see the same in revenge climb. And one is the aspect which you mentioned, the enthusiasm has really gone up. Other thing which we have realized is that, the concept of saving in the younger generation is very less compared to what it was in our times. So what has happened is most of the payments which we get for our climbs are generally through the credit card. So most of the climbers who would join us, they would ask for a credit card link and make payments to there. So that's again a mind shift change which has happened post corona, and which is very evident.
Definitely, we are experiencing it across all sectors, all industries, isn't it? So in 2025, Boots and Crampons has featured extraordinary accomplishments, and Everest being one of them. You also had a blind woman climb up. You had Geeta, who became the first, CISF personal to climb Mount Everest. So how have these such stories shaped the ethos of your organization?
So we actually feel very, very blessed once we get a person like Angmo joining us, because a person who is completely blind and still aiming to climb Everest, that itself is a very big aim. And making those dreams realize gives us purpose to what we do. So that obviously is very big for us. And we feel blessed that we get an opportunity like that. Apart from that, I would also like to mention that this year there's this boy from Hyderabad again. He's a 16-year-old and he's climbed the highest peaks in all the continents. So he's the youngest Indian boy to have climbed all the 7 continents' highest peaks. So that again, and in fact, last week we got a message from that boy's mother saying that his question was featured in Kaun Banega Crorepati in the season 4, in the first episode, by Amitabh Bachchan asking one of the participants, what did Karthik Vishwanath do to in 2025, which has given him that uh, publicity. So yeah, that gives small events like this give us the push and purpose to what we are doing, sir.
no,
Very
very
true, very true. And these are not small. I mean, see, one of the things that, let's say today, climbing Everest may not be seen as, okay, you're the first climber, but the fact remains that climbing Mount Everest, nothing has changed from the first person to now. The weather remains the same. So it is all about human endurance, right? Human will, dedication to be able to do that, achieve that. So every time you climb, you must have climbed multiple times, but every time you climb, it doesn't become easy. The difficulty remains the same. So it's all about that. So each climb is unique, each climb is different. So you yourself have climbed Lhasa Soli, and around the same time your team summited Everest. So very truly impressive though. Can you share what these experiences mean to you, both physically and mentally?
So let me be very frank, sir. After climbing Lhotse for 10 to 15 days, I was different with it, because the kind of high you get by climbing these peaks, and especially like Lhotse, it was a dream come true, because it was not exactly planned. And the aim was to, as a Fauji, you have the ownership of the team. And once you have 16-year-old and, blind girl and so many other people to climb with, so it was our responsibility to make sure that everything goes as per plan. So Lhotse obviously was on the back seat. But then once we realized that all the climbs had happened and we had time and opportunity to avail that, so then I thought, let's go ahead and do that climb. And blessings of God again, that the weather that day was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a better weather, and to the extent that I didn't feel that it was as difficult a mountain as many of our friends who have climbed earlier because of bad weather. Because as you said just now, that every day the weather is different on the mountain. Even if you climb the same mountain 10 times on 10 consecutive days, every experience is different. But my experience, luckily, was fantastic because no winds, extremely nice weather, not cold at all. So that way, I feel blessed that we got this opportunity. That all our team members uh, climbed very well. We made a few records, and everybody's safe. And then we could pursue our personal goals as well.
And as you said, in your conversation, by God's grace, that's the other part, isn't it? You may be climbing the mountain, but it cannot happen without the, respecting nature, paying your respects to nature, because it's mightier than us, right? And I was reading where Sherpas, before they start climbing, they do a certain special prayer, and then start climbing. So do you want to talk about that? Because I want people to understand it's not about it's not like human victory that I've climbed a mountain. It's also being one with the nature, being one with the nature, respecting nature for what it is.
See, you have hit the nail on the head. Whatever we may say that, we have climbed Everest, we have climbed Lhotse, or for that matter, any other mountain. If the mountain decides, only then these things happen. Any mountaineer, the biggest of the mountaineer, would be humble enough to understand that, it's all sheer luck. If the weather is good, if your condition is good, if there's enough oxygen in the oxygen tank, only then you can summit these big climbs. Otherwise, leave alone big climbs. We are just coming back from Russia, as I said, 5,000-meter climb. We had a very, very tough climb this year because the weather gods were, it was furious. The winds and all were very terrible. So that's why, it depends on if the mountain decides, then it works. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen.
That decides whether you're going to climb up or not, right? So you and that is where I'm again connecting to this point that your startup has a strong commitment to protecting and conserving environment. So where you operate, how do you incorporate these sustainable habits or checks and balances in your trek or expeditions? How and where do you do it?
So, sir, in our case, being a Fauji, we are very, very particular about protecting the environment and being conscious, because that's our home, right? Every time we're going to go back to the mountains, if we don't leave it clean, then next time we don't expect them to be behaving the same way. And that's what we are facing these days, the kind of landslides, the kind of rainfalls and sudden weather changes which are happening all over the north. How we do it is that first and foremost is during all our briefings, we make it very, very clear to the teammates that, there's a thing called leave no trace, LNT principle, which means you leave the mountain the way you have received it. So make sure that whatever garbage you are generating, be it your toffee wrappers, be it your, Maggie wrappers, whatever. So all these things have to be taken back to the base from where we have started the trek. So we don't leave anything on the mountain. So whatever happens or whatever garbage is created in the kitchen or by the trekkers, everybody carries it back to the base and makes sure that we don't leave the mountain in a dirty state after we are finishing our expedition.
No, that's commendable, and I had read few articles where there were expeditions just to clean up these places, right? And they've been clearing up huge load, tons of garbage that's been left by previous, because this awareness also has come probably a decade and a half ago. Before that, it was all free for anybody, just go dump whatever you're using and then move on. So your treks range from beginners friendly to high altitude experts climb. What key protocols and safety support do you prioritize to ensure that a hassle free and secure experience?
So first and foremost, our team leaders who are there, or the main guides who are there at different places, be it Leh, be it Himachal, be it Uttarakhand, these guys are super experts. So they've been training in mountains and they've been instructors in mountain institute for past 10 to 15 years. So they have immense amount of experience. So, and in all our briefings to our teams, like yesterday, again, evening, we were having briefing with two of our teams. So it was very clear that, safety as a Fauji is very, very dear to us. So we don't compromise at all on safety, even if we feel that, there's 1% chance that the person is not going to behave well or is not going, body is not going to cooperate, we send them back. So that is foremost that, safety is there. And all these guides, they've been empowered enough to understand that, they got to make sure that each and every person every day they check the health parameters, that if they feel that the person is not behaving well, is getting irritated, is showing signs of altitude sickness and all. So these things we are very clear, and anyone who's joining us for the climbs, they have to pass a mandatory that checklist, which means if a person is climbing a 6,000 meters with us, he or she should have done a 5,000 meter before they step up for the climb. So all these checks and balances are ensured so that we have a good experience once we are on the climb.
No, those are very important, because once you know that there are checks and balances, you follow them, they follow, and that ensures, or at least that kind of we know that those are the safety measures that ensures casualties are not there, or accident don't happen, more importantly. So looking forward, for what's your vision for Boots and Cramps on? Is it new destination, new programs, or are you planning something completely different?
Yes, definitely, sir. We want our footprint in many other countries. Like this year, we've been to Kyrgyzstan in July. That was a new climb. We were planning to climb in Iran as well as Turkey, but then because of the global situations these days, we couldn't do that. In November, we are doing Antarctica, which is the highest, where we have the highest peak, Mount Vinson. So Antarctica is again on the cards. Last year we did in December. This year we have a big team in November end. So that's again on the plan. So we keep exploring new climbs every year. And that's one as far as the Boots and Crampons is concerned. Again, alt-age, we want a global presence. Right now, we have people from 3 countries who are getting trained through that alt-age platform. That also we need to expand, and that's getting a good name based on the experiences of the people who are presently training with us. And similarly, we have a certain few initiatives which are on the pipeline. So that happening, we'll definitely be expanding our reach in various other countries.
Perfect. And before I let you go, Colonel Romel, My Startup TV, we are a media house for entrepreneurs like you, startups like yours. We carry their stories, their experience, their journeys for the wider world out there. What do you think about the kind of work we are doing?
It's amazing. So once you were giving the introduction of me getting into adventure space and doing such stuff, I could still relate, a Fauji going from army and doing the kind of stuff which we are doing into adventure and all, mountaineering. But something into media stuff of Fauji doing is a bigger adventure, I feel. And I'm sure you can relate to it because it's a totally different field. And the kind of challenges you must be going through would be immense. But hats off to you for providing this platform to the young startups and, people who want to step out of the comfort zone and do something in the startup space for the world. So that's really commendable, and we feel really grateful that we have platforms like this.
Thank you, Colonel Romel, for joining us. Viewers, if you want to hear such interesting conversation with soldiers, soldierpreneurs, soldiers who are turned entrepreneurs like Colonel Romel and myself, sharing their journey, understanding what they do, what they go through, how the transition happens, join us 4 to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Thank you, Colonel Romel, for joining us, and we'll see you again in our next shows.